Socrates, one of the greatest minds in human history, he actually believed that if you knew what the right thing to do was, you would just automatically do it.
Right, like ignorance was basically the only reason people did bad things.
Exactly. But today, we are looking at a philosopher who says Socrates was, well, dead wrong, and that your own paranoia is actually what's stopping you from being a good person.
It is a pretty wild counterargument, yeah.
It really is. Welcome, everyone. If you're joining us today for this deep dive, you're probably here because you want a quick but, really thorough synthesis of some incredibly complex ideas.
And you want to understand how real change actually happens.
Yeah. Today, our mission is to unpack a very specific, very powerful text. It's the chapter titled Reform, or Al-Aila in Arabic, from the philosopher Abdul Jabbar Al-Waily's book, Thus Spoke Confucius.
It's just a phenomenal text to explore. I mean, the title alone usually catches people off guard.
Oh, for sure. Thus Spoke Confucius. It's quite a mix of influences.
Right. You have an Arab Islamic philosopher writing a book invoking a Chinese philosopher while, clearly riffing on the title of a really famous Western book by Nietzsche, Thus Spoke Zarathustra.
It's like a philosophical crossover event.
It really is. And what Al-Waily does here is remarkable. He synthesizes profound Eastern philosophy, deep Islamic thought, and some highly practical sociology into this cohesive blueprint for human progress.
Yeah, it isn't just theoretical musing.
No, not at all. It's literally a manual for mechanics, like the mechanics of society.
Which is exactly why we're diving into it today. This isn't just dusty philosophy for academics,
Yeah.
It's a highly practical masterclass for you, the listener.
Absolutely.
Whether you're trying to fix a bad personal habit or manage a team at work, or just trying to understand the massive societal shifts happening in the world around us.
The mechanics of change are exactly the same in all those scenarios.
They really are. Okay, let's unpack this. Because before we can go out and fix the world, Al-Waily says we have to do something much more uncomfortable.
And we have to look in the mirror.
Right. We have to look inward first.
Yeah, you cannot lead outward change without inward alignment. And Al-Waily makes his first and perhaps his most piercing point right out of the gate.
He doesn't pull any punches.
He really doesn't. He states unequivocally that the most dangerous corrupter in society isn't the obvious villain, it's the hypocritical reformer.
An hypocritical reformer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He argues that a true reformer must practice what they preach. If a person's actions contradict their words, they aren't just ineffective, they are actively destructive.
They break things down.
Exactly. A person who begins by reforming themselves becomes this wise role model, and their behavior has a far greater impact than just, their speeches or their writings.
I love this, but I really want to push back here for a second.
Sure, go ahead.
It makes me think of like a chain-smoking doctor telling you to eat your vegetables and go for a jog.
Right. Classic hypocrisy.
Exactly. On one hand, the doctor is being a massive hypocrite, but on the other hand, the advice is still medically sound.
It is.
Like it's going to lower my cholesterol, whether he smokes or not. So if the advice is good, does it really matter if the messenger is deeply flawed?
It absolutely matters, and Al-Waily anticipates this exact kind of skepticism.
Okay, so why does it matter so much?
What's fascinating here is his reasoning. It's all about the currency of reform, which is trust.
Trust. Okay, I follow.
When a reformer is a hypocrite, it gives massive amounts of ammunition to the ignorant and to those who actively want to spread corruption.
Oh, I see. They use it as an excuse.
Exactly. They will use that hypocrisy to claim that all advocates for reform are actually just corrupt grifters. It destroys the credibility of the very concept of positive change.
Ah, so the chain-smoking doctor doesn't just ruin his own reputation. He makes you doubt the entire medical establishment.
That's the perfect way to look at it. Think about the sociological fallout. When actions contradict words, it insults the genuine reformers out there.
It makes their jobs infinitely harder.
Right. It creates this societal cynicism where people just assume everyone is faking it. So the hypocrite hasn't just failed to fix a problem, they've made it harder for anyone else to fix it in the future.
That is deeply insidious.
Yeah.
But, Al-Waily doesn't stop at just telling reformers to be genuine.
No, he provides a very specific methodology for how this genuine reform actually has to be implemented.
And the core mechanism there is pacing.
Yes. It has to be gradual.
Gradual, not like a sudden violent revolution of habits.
Exactly. A reformer must never burden their followers with things they cannot handle or shock them with changes they are completely unaccustomed to.
He uses a really interesting historical example for this, right?
He does. To illustrate this, Al-Waily brings in specific evidence from the Quran. He points out how the Quran progressively prohibited alcohol.
Progressively, so it didn't just happen overnight,
No, it didn't.
which is such a massive contrast to something like prohibition in the 1920s United States, where the government just, flipped a switch
Right, they banned alcohol overnight.
and inadvertently created massive organized crime syndicates because people couldn't handle the shock.
That's the perfect counterexample. Shocking the system breeds rebellion. The Quranic approach, on the other hand, was phased.
How did that work exactly?
Well, it moved people gradually from first acknowledging the harms of alcohol to then restricting it during prayer times to ultimate prohibition later on.
Giving people time to adjust.
Exactly. It allowed the society to adapt sociologically and psychologically. Al-Waily also cites a foundational Quranic principle from Surah al-Baqarah, which is the longest chapter in the Quran.
And what's that principle?
The principle is God does not burden a soul beyond its capacity.
That is such a vital takeaway for anyone listening.
It really applies to everything.
It does. If you're trying to implement a brand new software system at work, or if you're trying to start this grueling new diet at home, shocking the system with sudden, massive changes is almost always a recipe for failure.
You have to respect the capacity of the system you're trying to change.
Right. You have to meet people where they are.
You measure your commands and prohibitions against the literal bandwidth of the people involved. It's a deeply empathetic approach to leadership.
But, okay, let's look at the bigger picture here. A society of individuals who only focus on pacing their own habits is still just chaos, right?
Yeah, if they aren't coordinated.
Exactly. How do those reformed individuals actually fit together to build a functional society? Because you can have a bunch of well-meaning people who still bump into each other and cause massive problems.
Al-Waily recognized this completely, which is why he envisions society not as a random crowd, but as a highly precise, intricate watch.
A mechanical watch. I really, really like that image.
It's incredibly fitting.
Because if you think about the inside of a watch, every piece has a very specific shape and a very specific job.
Right, the gears all rely on each other.
And if you take a brilliant, perfectly forged cog made of the absolute finest metal, but you jam it into the wrong part of the watch.
It's going to cause a disaster.
Yeah. Not only does that beautiful cog break under the wrong pressure, but the entire watch just stops ticking.
The dynamic is identical in human society. Putting a person in the wrong place is exactly like putting a gear in the wrong place in a machine. It breaks the gear and ruins the machine.
It's a total lose-lose situation.
Right. Putting people in their proper places is, according to him, the highest form of administrative wisdom.
I hear that, but practically speaking, how do we actually do that? How do we ensure people end up in the right places?
That's the million-dollar question.
Because society isn't built by a single watchmaker who knows where every piece goes. We don't have a grand sorter telling us, you go here and you go there.
Well, Al-Waily's solution is surprisingly modern, especially for a philosophical text like this. He insists on the absolute necessity of active vocational guidance and psychological testing in schools.
Wait, really? Psychological testing?
Yes. He argues that schools must offer different branches of study, sciences, arts, sociology, and that students shouldn't just guess what they're good at.
So it's not just trial and error.
No, they should be guided by psychological experts based on rigorous testing. And he applies this not just to students, but to workers in various professions.
So he's actively calling for an infrastructure that identifies potential. It's a highly proactive approach, not passive at all.
It's an aggressive hunt for talent. He highlights an urgent need to identify natural geniuses.
Because every society has them.
Exactly. In any society, there are rare, gifted individuals who might not show their brilliance until later in life, and they are so often forgotten by the passage of time or crushed by poverty.
That's tragic to think about.
It is. So society must actively search for them, study their capabilities, and provide them with whatever financial or social support they need to innovate.
Because if we don't, we're missing out on the people who actually push the human race forward. We're robbing ourselves.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, Al-Waily is arguing that ignoring talent isn't just an administrative error. The text explicitly calls it an unforgivable injustice to future generations.
Unforgivable injustice. Those are strong words.
And he uses powerful historical examples to prove this point. Think about the early philosophers. Without them, the entire intellectual legacy of ancient Greece would have been lost.
Oh, absolutely. The ripple effects are massive.
He also mentions Shakespeare, stating that without him, the entire world, not just the English, would have lost a unique literary genius that fundamentally changed storytelling.
The cultural landscape would be completely different. He also mentions the Prophet Muhammad in this context, if I remember the text correctly.
He does, yeah. Al-Waily cites the Indian leader Jawaharlal Nehru here.
Oh, interesting. What did Nehru say?
He noted that without the Prophet Muhammad, the Islamic civilization wouldn't have emerged to advance humanity by 1,000 years in sciences, arts, and governance.
That's a massive scale of impact.
Right. These examples illustrate that a single genius, placed in the right environment with the right support, can literally elevate the entire human species.
Okay, so let's say we pull this off. Let's say we have a society of well-placed individuals. They're aligned inward, they're in the right roles, and they're really trying to do good.
The ideal scenario.
Right. But they still have to survive in the real world. Which brings us to a tension that I think everyone listening wrestles with on a daily basis.
The tension between resources and ethics.
Exactly. Money versus morals. It's the classic dilemma.
It's the eternal debate. And Al-Waily tackles it by first acknowledging that both are genuinely necessary.
You can't just ignore money.
No, you can't. Money protects morals from the desperate degradation of poverty. When people are desperately poor, they might be forced to compromise their ethics just to feed their families.
Survival instincts kick in.
Exactly. Conversely, morals ensure that money isn't spent on destruction or corruption. Morals act as a shield for wealth, directing it toward building rather than destroying.
I'm going to play devil's advocate here because I really want to push hard on this.
Okay, let's hear it.
Try telling someone who can't pay their rent that morals will give them, peace of mind.
Yeah.
Doesn't money just solve more immediate, tangible problems than being a quote-unquote good person?
It certainly feels that way in the moment.
Like, if you have a crisis, morals don't fix your car. Money fixes your car.
That's the most common defense for prioritizing wealth over ethics. But Al-Waily systematically dismantles that illusion by looking at the long-term mechanics of human psychology.
Okay, how so?
He argues that money without morals provides only a fake happiness. Wealth without ethics surrounds you with paranoia.
Paranoia, why is that?
Because you lack true friends. Every relationship becomes transactional. You invite endless social and psychological problems because poor behavior inevitably creates enemies.
It's the classic trope of the miserable, isolated billionaire.
Exactly.
The one who can't trust anyone around them because they, screwed over everyone to get to the top.
And Al-Waily pushes it even further. He says that if a wise person is absolutely forced to choose between the two, money or morals, the only logical strategic choice is morals.
Why? I mean, aside from just feeling warm and fuzzy inside, how does that actually help you survive in the real world?
Because of the practical mechanics of how society operates over time, morals bring peace of mind, yes. But practically speaking, moral people become trusted by society.
And trust is valuable.
Trust is an incredibly scarce resource. People desperately want to work with those who have high ethical standards.
That's true. Nobody wants a sketchy business partner.
Right. So society relies on moral people for complex tasks. They choose them for lucrative partnerships, and they include them in their biggest endeavors.
Oh, I see the mechanism now. It's a circular loop.
Yes, exactly.
You choose morals, which generates deep trust from the people around you. And that trust eventually leads society to reward you with the opportunities and the money you needed in the first place.
It's the ultimate long game.
Wow.
Whereas if you choose money at the expense of morals, you eventually lose the trust of society. And without trust, your wealth becomes incredibly fragile.
Because nobody's got your back.
Exactly. One bad turn in the market, one lawsuit, and you have no social safety net to catch you. You're entirely on your own.
Okay, so we know we must choose morals over money. And we know we need to be in the right place in the societal watch. But how do we actually translate that moral knowledge into real, tangible results?
That's the crux of the issue.
Because knowing what is right and actually doing what is right are two completely different things.
This is where the text gets highly psychological. Al-Waily breaks down the pipeline of human action into distinct sequential stages.
What are the stages?
First, knowing the good, then loving the good, intending the good, and finally, actually doing the good.
Here's where it gets really interesting. This is where Al-Waily picks a direct fight with Socrates.
He really goes after him.
As we mentioned at the top of the show, Socrates claimed that simply knowing what is good automatically leads to doing it. So, if I know eating a salad is better than eating a donut, I'll eat the salad.
Which we all know isn't true.
Right. So is Socrates completely off base?
According to Al-Waily, Socrates was fundamentally incomplete in his assessment. Knowledge is merely the first step.
It's not the whole journey.
Not at all. You can know exactly what the good thing is, and you can even want to do it, but still completely fail to act.
Why? What actually stops us from doing the right thing if we know it's right?
The text lists several specific barriers. The first is simply laziness or cowardice.
I mean, fair enough. Doing the right thing is usually harder.
It takes effort. But the most insidious barrier he mentions, the one that really paralyzes smart people, is a pessimistic belief that the world is conspiring against you.
Wait, paranoia stops us from doing good.
He calls it a pestilence that ruins good intentions. It's the belief that society is corrupt, that everyone is plotting against your hopes, and so you just, well, give up.
You just check out.
Exactly. You tell yourself, the system is rigged, so why bother trying to fix it? You delay your actions until your life ends without achieving anything.
That is painfully relatable.
You have all the knowledge of Socrates, but your cynical view of the world literally paralyzes your action.
Wow. That hits incredibly close to home for the modern world.
Yes, it is.
How many times do we see brilliant people who know exactly what needs to be fixed in politics, in the environment, in their own local communities, but they just throw their hands up and retreat into cynicism?
It's an absolute epidemic of inaction.
So how do we break out of that? How do we get past the cynicism?
Overcoming that cynicism requires a bridge. And Al-Waily emphasizes that intention is the crucial bridge between knowledge and action.
Intention.
Yes. He brings in a famous hadith, which is a recorded saying of the Prophet Muhammad that states, actions are but by intentions.
How does he interpret that in the context of someone trying to, reform their community?
He argues that the purity of your intention actually protects you from the fear of failure.
Really? How so?
The text states that if you genuinely try to do good and you accidentally cause harm through honest mistake, your pure intention still grants you the reward of a righteous person.
Oh, wow. So you aren't morally condemned just for trying and failing.
Exactly. The effort and the pure heart behind it count. Conversely, if you intend to do evil, but accidentally do something good, you don't get credit for the good outcome.
Because your heart wasn't in the right place.
Right. The intention is the absolute core of the moral act.
So the fear of making a mistake shouldn't stop you from acting because your intention is what anchors your moral standing.
True reform requires fearless action. And to drive this point home, the text quotes the poetry of Abd al-Rahim Mahmud.
What did he write?
He wrote about carrying his soul in his own hands, throwing it into the abyss of danger. He wrote about choosing either a life that delights friends or a death that enrages enemies.
That is intense.
It's a deeply visceral call to abandon hesitation and step into the arena.
So having traced this entire path from looking in the mirror to align our inner selves, to finding our precise place in the watchmaker society, choosing ethics over wealth, and translating our pure intentions into fearless action, we arrive at the macro-level result.
The grand scale.
Right. We arrive at the fate of entire civilizations.
This is where Al-Waily transitions to the ultimate impact of the reformer. And he uses this really beautiful metaphor describing reformers as minarets.
Minarets of light, like the towers on a mosque that project light or sound.
Yes, exactly. They are guiding lights that cut through the darkness of ignorance. But a minaret cannot shine on its own. It needs fuel.
What kind of fuel?
The text says that this light is fueled by two things: the oil of reason and public encouragement.
Wait, oil of reason. That sounds very poetic, but what does it actually mean in practice?
It means passion isn't enough to sustain a movement. You need cold, hard logic. That's the reason. You need smart strategies and well-thought-out plans.
Right, you can't just run on emotion.
Exactly. And you need the community cheering you on. That's the public encouragement. Without the logic to guide it, or the crowd to support it, the light simply burns out.
This raises an important question, though. We're talking about massive societal shifts here.
Yeah.
How much power does one individual truly have over a whole society? Can one person really be a minaret that lights up a whole civilization?
Al-Waily's answer to that is a stark, almost terrifying warning.
Terrifying.
Yeah, he argues that the impact of a single individual at the top is absolute. A single visionary, righteous reformer can lift a nation from the abyss of backwardness to the peak of glory.
There's one person.
Yes, they can boost agriculture, revolutionize industry, establish social justice, and raise the moral and material standard of millions of people.
But the flip side of that coin must be devastating.
It is entirely destructive.
Mm.
A single corrupt, morally dead leader can shatter an entire civilization.
It's like the cog breaking the whole watch again.
Exactly. A leader whose conscience is dead will plunder the nation, elevate ignorant sycophants while destroying the scholars, and turn the country's wealth into the private spoils of their cronies.
And the whole system rots.
Society devolves from one abyss to another until it completely collapses.
That is heavy, but it ties directly back to you, the listener, because most of us aren't the singular leader of a nation. We are the society that provides the fuel for those minarets.
We are the environment. The text emphasizes that we must actively honor and support the righteous people in our communities.
You have to back them up.
If we constantly attack them with hasty, ignorant judgments, or if we just passively ignore their contributions, they will retreat.
They'll burn out.
They'll step back because they feel unvalued. And when the good people step back, the general morality of society collapses. The minaret goes dark.
So it's actually on us to protect the people trying to do good in our own circles. Like if someone at your job is trying to improve a toxic culture and you just sit back and watch them get criticized without defending them,
You're part of the problem.
you're actively participating in the decay of that culture. You're starving the minaret of its fuel.
That's the exact practical application of Al-Waily's philosophy.
Okay, we've covered a massive amount of ground today. Let's recap this journey. We learned that reform is fundamentally an inside-out process.
You can't lead outward change if you're a hypocrite inward.
Right. It requires pacing yourself and understanding capacity, much like the progressive prohibition of alcohol. It requires finding your precise, unique role in the intricate mechanical watch of society.
And placing others in their right roles, too.
Exactly. It means making the hard, strategic choice of ethics over mere wealth, knowing that trust is the ultimate long-term currency.
That circular loop of trust.
Yeah. It means overcoming the paranoia and cynicism that stops us from acting, translating pure intention into fearless action. And crucially, it means acting as the fuel for the guiding lights in our community.
It's a comprehensive blueprint for living a meaningful, highly impactful life.
So what does this all mean for you? It means you don't need to lead a nation to be a reformer. You don't have to be the one writing the laws or leading a grand revolution.
You really don't.
You just need to align your intentions and your actions in your own sphere of influence. You need to be the right, perfectly forged cog in your specific part of the watch.
And if we look really closely at what Al-Waily is claiming here, there's a profound, almost hidden implication about the nature of the universe itself.
What do you mean?
Think about his claim that one righteous person can build a civilization, but one corrupt person can destroy it. The effort required to build is immense.
Oh, it takes so much work.
It requires alignment, intention, patience, pacing, and the perfect placement of every gear in the watch. But destruction
is easy.
Destruction just requires one person with a hammer. It implies that in human society, destruction is inherently faster and easier than creation. Decay is the default state if things are left unattended.
Wow. So trying to fix things, trying to be a reformer is actually fighting against gravity.
It's fighting against the entropy of the universe.
That is wild.
Therefore, choosing to be a reformer, choosing to create, to repair, to insist on morals, to do the slow, unglamorous work of building trust in a world that naturally leans toward decay and cynicism,
Yeah.
that isn't just a simple moral choice, it's the ultimate act of human rebellion.
That is incredible. It's so easy to just let things rot or to throw your hands up and say the system is rigged. It takes a true rebel to look at the decay, overcome the paranoia, and decide to do the hard work of rebuilding the foundation instead.
It's the hard work, but it's the only work that actually lasts.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Take these insights, look in the mirror, and take that fearless action into your week. We'll catch you next time.